From the Fidelity Bank Foundation studio, PBS Kansas presents One-on-One with Victor Hogstrom.
Some stories define a moment, others shape a generation. This is where we meet the people who write the story of Kansas, one chapter, one conversation at a time. Our guest tonight, Lou Heldman, has been a guiding voice in Wichita's civic and academic life for nearly 2 decades. His journey to Kansas was paved with a Pulitzer Prize-winning career in journalism that took him to 6 cities, from the newsrooms of the Miami Herald to the publisher's office of the Wichita Eagle. Heldman embarked on a second career at Wichita State University, where, as vice president, he was deeply involved in launching the Innovation Campus. Now in retirement, he remains a driving force in our community's art scene, serving as the recent chairman of the Wichita Art Museum's Board of Trustees. A reporter, editor, executive, and educator who has helped shape the stories of our city. Get ready for a fascinating half hour as I go one-on-one in part 2 of our interview with Lou Heldman right now. Hello and welcome to One-on-One. I'm Victor Hogstrom. Join us tonight for part 2 of our interview with Lou Heldman, a man whose curiosity and leadership have left a lasting mark on journalism, higher education, and the cultural fabric of Wichita. We ended last week's interview just before the game that we play on this program. So let's begin part 2 of this program with the game, which is Finish the Sentence. Lou, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
You're brave to be back for this part of it.
I can't wait to hear what the first part of the sentence is.
All right. Okay, this is to have some fun with you on this program. I'll start a sentence and you finish it.
All right.
All right. The first one. The secret to a great news story is always
Readership.
Why is that?
Because if it doesn't appeal to the readership, then it wasn't worth the effort.
Oh, very good. Good answer. The best advice a mentor ever gave me was?
Don't come in here and ask for my opinion. Bring me your recommendation.
That reminds me of the newsroom. When I was a news director once, people came in, what am I working on today? Same thing I said to them, yes. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. A community is strongest when?
It's diverse and it values its creative people and its entrepreneurs.
Because they play important roles.
Because they are the ones who build the community. They make it a good place to live. They enhance the quality of life. And they provide jobs.
True. The first thing my wife and I do in a new city is?
Find the art museum.
Ah. And why is that?
Because an art museum says a lot about a city. And it's a place where we're going to spend a lot of time, so we want to know right from the start how to find it.
The biggest change in journalism I have seen in my lifetime is?
The movement to digital.
Was that challenging for you?
It was exhilarating for me because it was like being a miner walking into a mine with no light on.
Wow.
So we had to find our way. We had to bring in the lights, we had to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig. And traditional media organizations, like the one I was part of, found that there were lots of smart engineers who were producing better content than we knew how to produce. And here's the secret, Victor. They got the users to provide the content. So professional reporters are incredibly important because they bring standards, they bring verification. You never want to have a society without professional journalism. But the users bring all sorts of new viewpoints to the conversation, and they are always closer to the action.
Well, let's talk about professional journalism for today. How is that going on today? What's happening with professional journalism?
I am pleased to say that I now for several years have been able to read the Ohio State Lantern and the Sunflower and many other college newspapers online. And I see that everywhere I look in journalism, schools and newspapers, there are still people who are just as driven as my friends and I were to practice good journalism, to uncover truths, to right wrongs, and to explain the world to students and to anyone else reading the college publications. It's just now, instead of, I used to go to the print shop at 1:30 in the morning and see the paper onto the press. And that was a great feeling to hear that press run and to grab the first copy warm off the press. It was exhilarating every time. But now these students can reach a much larger audience, and their work is important.
You have emphasized print journalism. Compare and contrast that to broadcast journalism. Would you say the same thing today about broadcast journalism?
Well,
considering you have CNN, you have Fox, you have MSNBC, and all of the broadcast networks.
Well, broadcast journalism is going through its own transformation. That a lot of that has to do on a local level with the shift in advertising, because auto dealers, to take one example, don't need the newspaper or the local television station to reach a broad audience. Anybody looking for a Chevrolet will probably go first to digital. And if they happen to see an ad on television, or I don't know if there is any auto advertising in newspapers anymore, but if they see an ad on television, great, because that builds awareness of that dealership. But every dealership I know is putting its inventory online, and people know to look there.
What about from the journalistic perspective?
From the journalistic perspective, I see a lot of very hardworking people in broadcast, and I see reporters who really much like probably you did, and Chris Frank did, and Jim Grayway did. They're one-person media outlets. They're bringing all their equipment around, except the difference is they also now have a phone with them, and they're doing feeds for the website. They're doing everything, and they're tough jobs. But there's still a lot of dedicated people doing them. It's just people have a lot of alternatives for their news at the national level, but they don't have a lot of alternatives for news at the local level, and that's where things are tough.
You talked about the art museum earlier, an art museum is a vital part of a city because
it elevates our lives. And I would put art museums in the same category as performing arts, parks, libraries. It takes us out of our routines and uses different parts of our brain.
Okay, and what has been the story that has always stuck with you?
Well, I'd say in Wichita, the BTK story.
Okay.
Just because it galvanized so much community interest and national interest that this serial killer had been on the loose for decades and now had reemerged and was captured by very good police work. And I think that's the most memorable story in my time in Wichita.
The key to being open to change is?
Being open to change. It's understanding that things will change. And if you think of your first biology class, species die off all the time. Those who adapt to change survive and thrive.
The most rewarding part of working at a university is?
Being with students every day. I am an energy junkie. I don't mean drinking Red Bull.
Right.
I mean being around lively people.
Feeding off the energy.
Thoughtful people, and
Right.
I do feed off the energy, and I challenge anyone to walk across the breadth of the Wichita State campus and look in the faces of those students and wander in and out of buildings and not be energized.
My favorite thing about Wichita is?
Definitely the kindness of the people. I've lived a lot of places, and this is an easy place to live. It's an easy place to meet people unlike yourself. And I just think Wichita is just so accessible that we have all of these great amenities that I enjoyed in Miami and Detroit. But I can get there in 10 minutes and have a great time.
So the perfect day in retirement is?
Reading, talking to people, and playing golf.
Wow. Talking about playing golf, final game question. If I ever get a hole-in-one, the first person I'll call is?
My wife.
Why?
Because she knows how much agony I've been through on the golf course.
Okay.
And I hope she'd care more than most of my friends who would all pat me on the back and think, why did he get one and not me?
Right. Okay, that ends the game, but let's continue with the interview part of the program. You became vice president for strategic communications at WSU. What is that all about, or what's it all about? And you were greatly involved in the innovation campus. And what is your proudest accomplishment there?
Well, everything that I did at Wichita State goes back to that first conversation with Don Beggs, but then I was incredibly fortunate to be there at a time that John Bardo came to be president following Don Beggs. And John Bardo had a vision of Wichita State as an economic powerhouse, that Wichita clearly needed a lot of help. And John brought the confidence because we had John Tomlin and the National Institute of Aviation Research here, that we already had a long record at Wichita State of cooperation with industry. And he thought we could extend that with a research park and that idea is on many campuses around the country. But he thought by having a research park at Wichita State, we could bring industry to campus, and that would create a virtuous cycle that they could come to campus, they could hire students, that students would work on campus in jobs for Wichita-based companies and have a very good chance of being hired by those companies. And then if they were hired by those companies, there was a much better chance that they would stay in Wichita. So it was a way not just of helping local companies, but of keeping talent at home and attracting new talent. And the reason that you see Wichita State's enrollment at an all-time high, and the reason you see what had been the Wichita Area Technical College now being WSU Tech and being its own juggernaut for economic development and education and enrollment growth, all of those go back to people like John Bardo and Sherry Utash at WSU Tech, and now Rick Muma, a wonderful president at WSU. And all of them understand that when WSU is better, Wichita is better, and when Wichita is better, WSU is better.
So Lou, how has WSU's role in Wichita changed over the last 2 decades?
Well, I think the university has operated with more confidence. One of the differences between Don Beggs and John Bardo, both of whom I've said I adored and admired, is that Don wanted to avoid controversy, and the decision-making process sometimes moved fairly slowly. John Bardo had a sure sense of what he wanted to accomplish, and he acted like a man who had a short time to do it. And in fact, he did. He died about 6 or 7 years into the job. But during that time, he said, Wichita State can do things it's never done, and this community can do things it never has done. And he was right on both counts.
You've also been a passionate supporter of Wichita's art scene. What draws you to collecting local Kansas art?
I believe that you ought to support the local artists wherever you go, and we've done that everywhere we lived. It's because I think living artists deserve more attention. Everyone thinks, oh, I wish I had a San Zane. He's a fabulous artist. The Prairie Printmakers were fabulous. And we have very good collections of both in Wichita and in South Central Kansas. But I think we have among us some fabulous artists, and they should be recognized in their lifetime and supported. And you know what? Artists have to buy groceries and pay rent and do all the things the rest of us have to do. And they need to make a living doing it. So I totally believe in local art.
So what are your favorite collections or pieces?
Well, in our house, you'd see that, we had great Rebecca Hoyer that was given to me when I left the Eagle, and I very early on became liked the art, and then it liked the people behind the art. So Patrick Dugas, Kurt Klontz, Wade Hampton, a wide variety of people working in this community. You can see a lot of great work on First Fridays in Wichita when most of the galleries are open. And my favorite gallery is Reuben Sanders' gallery, RSG, with Mike Michaelis and Trish Van Osdale have done a great job of following Reuben, and that's the longest running local gallery, and it's very serious about bringing in good art.
So, as the immediate, not immediate, but as a past chairman of the Wichita Arts Museum Board, what do you see as the future of arts in Wichita?
Well, the future of the Wichita Art Museum, affectionately known as WHAM, is fantastic. It's in its 90th year, and due to the foresight of Mrs. Murdoch, who left the balance of her estate many years ago, the Wichita Art Museum was able to start in 1935 and assemble a fabulous collection of American masters like Edward Hopper and Mary Cassatt, Louise Nevelson, many, many others. So we have that, but WHAM has continued as a collecting museum and an exhibiting museum for American art. And when we're having this interview, there's a wonderful exhibit, Women Abstract Expressionists, and also Kathleen Shanahan, a wonderful local artist. And WHAM is always going to feature great art from the best in the nation and also the best locally and regionally.
So the future of arts in Wichita is what?
The future of art in
Generally.
It's very bright because there's so many good people working in the field. You know, I can say one unusual thing about the Wichita Art Museum, which is a nationally accredited, ranked museum, that its key leaders are all from Wichita. They left Wichita to get advanced degrees and have come back. Molly McPherson as director, Tara Hedrick as curator, and so they know us. They're not people coming from another city and this is just another stop along the way.
So in the remaining time we have, looking back at your 18 years in Wichita, what professional achievements are you most proud of?
I'm always most proud of building great teams and of finding talented people and bringing them together to do something for the common good. Because when you're working with a great team, it's very satisfying because you learn so much from them.
And there's a Pulitzer Prize somewhere in there hidden in there.
Oh, it's way back early in my career in Fort Wayne. We had a flood that threatened to literally divide the community into three parts because there were three rivers that met in the center of the community. And after a terrible winter of snow and ice, there was a sudden flash spring when the rivers melted and rose, and a group of high school students were let out of school to go fill sandbags to save the dike. I mean, is that a movie or what?
Right.
And of course, we wrote about it and covered it exhaustively for a week that the crisis was on. And we were recognized with the Pulitzer Prize for local reporting, which was quite an achievement for our little newspaper.
Right. And as someone who has watched Wichita evolve, what are you most optimistic about for the city's future?
I see the young leaders in town, and I see people taking over the family-owned institutions, and banks are a great example, where the Michaelises, the Chandlers, the Bastions, and many others have done good things for the community for generations. And fortunately, there are younger members of those families now in place to take over those institutions and move us into the next century.
Lou Heldman, thank you for sharing your incredible story with us.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Victor.
And thank you for watching. If you have a question or comment, you know the drill. Email us at oneonone@kpts.org. Until next time, I'm Victor Hogstrom. Stay curious and stay engaged, and we'll see you again soon.